So hello and welcome back to the FPL Talk channel, and today I'm going to talk you through my final Game Week 1 team. Now, make sure you stay tuned because I'm going to give you advice on the players that I've picked and why you should go for them, and feel free to change your team based on the advice I'm giving you. And I've honestly chopped and changed this team so many times. I've seen different advice from different people on different social media platforms that have influenced my team, and you shouldn't really do that because you should, go with what you feel is best. But sometimes the community does know better and they've seen things that you might not have realised. And I've come up with this team, and this is what I'm very much looking like I'm going to stick with going into Game Week 1. Now, I've got Ederson in goal. Against West Ham, it doesn't really matter who he's played. Ederson's pretty much going to get 6 points most weeks. Not many save bonuses, but that's going to come with playing for an elite team. But I'm very happy with that. I feel like you can go for Ward in goal for 4 million on the bench. That's a brilliant option, obviously, from Leicester. Going to play week in, week out, maybe, if he does get the number one nod by Brendan Rodgers, which he should do. And, some people have gone for Sanchez instead to do the rotational strategy. That does look like a great choice to do, because you can go up all the way to Game Week 8 with 7 green fixtures and only 1 orange fixture. But the thing is, they're always going to concede the likes of Brighton and Leicester in some games. Well, pretty much most games, to be honest. They don't keep too many clean sheets. And that means you're only going to get 2 or 3 points based on if they get the save bonuses in your keeper position. And Ederson's pretty much going to get 6 points every week. So that's 3 more points I'm going to get pretty much guaranteed in most weeks, because Man City do not concede a lot of goals, let's be honest, with the quality that they have. So that is the reason why I have gone for the premium keeper in goal for 5.5 million. I think it's certainly worth it. Then at right back, I've got Trent, 7.5 million, most expensive defender in the game. Again, you got to realise that you have to have him. There's no point trying to save 0.5 million and going for Robertson, simply because he's not going to get as many points anymore in FPL as Trent does. And Trent's far more consistent on more set pieces, and it just works so much better to have him. Now, the debate was, would you have Robertson as your third Liverpool player? And a lot of people have actually done that, and I really rate that play. But I just feel like Luis Diaz is far more better for the options that you could have, because if I go for Robertson in defence, my options in midfield are like around the 6 million mark then. And there's just no one that's going to get as many points as if I had Luis Diaz in there and a better defender, such as I've got Reece James and Zinchenko. That combo is going to get far more than Robertson and maybe a £6 million midfielder. So that's the logic behind that. I'm going for a more balanced squad overall, and I think that's a really important thing to do. Spread your money out and make sure that you can cover all positions with points, because you don't want to invest loads in certain positions and then have to make sacrifices elsewhere of like 5 million midfielders, 6 million attackers who just aren't going to cut it for your team. Next up, I do have Reece James versus Everton. Now, Chelsea have had a bit of a shaky pre-season, let's be honest, but I expect them to find some form going into the season, especially with their new signings. I'm sure they'll perform well. And again, in that right wing back position, it just looks like it's going to be a great decision to put him in there, because on the left, Cucurella has signed now for Chelsea, and we had that whole shenanigans with Fabrizio, if he was lying or not. But we should never doubt the man, let's be honest. We should never doubt Fabrizio. He's always right. And that gives a rotational risk to Chilwell, obviously. Whether Cucurella will slot on at left centre-back, we have to see. We don't know what's going to happen yet. But James is the safest Chelsea asset to go for in defence, I think. So I've gone for that. Then Zinchenko. Now, there was a lot of debate if Zinchenko was going to play or not, but surely Zinchenko's got to play, right? People expect him to start left back tonight, and even if he didn't and Tierney was fit, I would still expect him to probably take Xhaka's position next to Partey in midfield and slot in there, just because of his versatility. And that's what should happen, to be honest, because he's far more influential and a better player than Xhaka, in my opinion. But that is why I have gone for that defensive line and goalkeeper, so I'm going to go into the midfield. So starting off, I have the captain, Mo Salah. Now, I feel like Mo Salah has to be captain. He just has to be. He's returned in the past 5 game week ones, and if you don't captain him and give him the armband, I think it's just a silly decision, to be honest, because, look at the past results, how good he's been, and he's playing Fulham away. It's not even like it's a hard fixture, and you can really see that he's been sharp in pre-season, especially in that Community Shield. He was all over Cancelo, as I said previously, in the last episode that we made on YouTube, and it just looks lethal. And people always go, oh, should I go without him because he's 13 million, so pricey, and the rest of my team could benefit. No player normally scores more goals than Mo Salah in a season, and especially more FPL points, so not going with him would be a total risk, and I would say wrong in my opinion, because let's be honest, even if Salah flops, right, the majority have him, so everyone suffers. Whereas even if you don't have him, you're still going to have a weaker asset that's probably still not going to do better than Salah, so he has to be in there for me and your captain in game week 1. Then I've got Bailey now. This is a very big debate. Should you go for Bailey or Neto, really? Some people opt in for both so they can have their options spread out, which I do like that play, but I've actually kept 0.5 million in the bank and gone for Bailey, simply because, right, I feel like they're both going to do as well as each other, and they're not like a high-end asset that's really pricey. They're both around that 5 million mark for a reason, and because Bailey's slightly cheaper and Aston Villa still have really nice fixtures, and he's been in red hot form in pre-season, he slightly edges it for me, because this extra 0.5 million in the bank means I'm more flexible. If I want to jump a transfer to someone else who's been performing for a few game weeks and I think, I want him in my team, I can easily do that then, because I've got the extra money to work with, whereas I could be quite stuck if I have no money to work with, and then I can't transfer the people I want out because I have insufficient funds. So that's my reason behind Bailey. Now, we spoke about Luis Diaz. Again, Jota's got injured, and I don't expect Núñez to play off the left. Yes, he can do it, and he has been said to do it for Benfica before, but look how big he is, right? In the Premier League, I cannot see him playing off the left wing, in my opinion. And we still don't know if Núñez is favoured over Firmino, so I feel like Diaz is perfectly going to start in that left wing position. With Jota's hamstring injury, again, he's pretty much nailed on. And we saw how good he was last season. Only 8 million as well. A lot of people thought he'd come in at 9.5 million, but only 8 million is a right steal. Then Martinelli now. I've been very critical of this, not to go for this, but I finally jumped on the wave because so many people have got him. And for 6 million and an Arsenal attack, you just can't resist, right? He's been incredible in pre-season. That link up with Jesus has looked real nice. And the options around that 6 million mark just aren't very good other than Martinelli. That's why I couldn't go for Robertson and then go for another £6 million midfielder in midfield, because Martinelli is the only real trustworthy one. Yes, you've got the likes of Rashford, but they're just more risky. You know what you're going to get with Martinelli. You've seen it in pre-season. He's looking real sharp and he should provide us with some points, I really hope. Then up front, obviously, speaking of red hot form, Gabriel Jesus, oh my days. He's like 70% owned or something, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I can't even think of an FPL player that's ever been that owned. But it's just because he's 8 million. I'd say his value is too low, let's be honest. It should be around 9 million. And I still think his ownership would be that high, to be honest, because people are willing to pay it. He scored that hat-trick versus Sevilla. And he's going into the season in literally great form, and so are Arsenal, to be honest, strengthened. Saliba's come back and he looks really good in their defence. And we'll have to wait and see. They're obviously playing tonight, so I've got 3 assets already playing. It could be quite scary times if it goes wrong, but I'm putting my faith in Arsenal for now, which is a debatable thing to do. And then the final player now, this is the debate. Kane or Haaland? I've gone for Harry Kane and I've stuck with it simply because you know what you're getting with Harry Kane. Guaranteed minutes in a Conte system, and he is Premier League proven. Whereas Haaland just, yes, he wasn't good in Community Shield, and if you had him before that, you shouldn't transfer him out just because he missed a chance. Let's be honest, everyone misses, and he's trying to settle in to the Premier League. We've seen his goal record, how good it actually is, and he will come good eventually, but it's how long will he take to settle into the Premier League? Whereas it's Harry Kane, he knows what it's like, he always scores goals, and that's why I've gone for him. Just because I feel like he's so much more reliable currently than Haaland. But Haaland will probably prove me wrong. And, I mean, he's at risk of Pep roulette still because Foden will probably play in CF. And Alvarez can also play through the middle. Whereas Harry Kane, yes, he's got Richarlison. But I think he'll favour Richarlison off the wings Conte. But that is my logic with that. If we scroll down and look at the bench here, again, I've got Ward, the best keeper in the game for value, probably 4 million. It used to be Mendy. Now it's probably Ward. Then Andreas Pereira. Again, I've got 2 players there that are guaranteed to play pretty much 90 minutes, maybe a few less for Andreas Pereira in games. Pereira for 4.5 million, you just have to have him. He's going to play in an attacking midfield position for Fulham and could get a few returns. And you could even play him in the weaker fixtures versus like Bournemouth or Forest. You'll just have to wait and see. And I really like that option. I would happily have him come off the bench if someone didn't play. Then Nico Williams. Now this was the debate. I could knock him up to a 4.5 million because I've got 0.5 in the bank, but I've chose not to and just stick with him. Simply because, yeah, he's guaranteed minutes, isn't he, right? If I get injuries, he's guaranteed minutes and he can be substituted on. Whereas I don't need to waste money that I can invest in a better player on the pitch. So that's why I've gone for him. And then Archer, yes, he's not good, is he? 4.5 million, but he scored 2 goals in pre-season, and Gerrard has said he's not been loaned out. So he's done all right in pre-season, and he's probably the best 4.5 million attacker because none of them are really going to play. But that is my FPL draft. Let me know what you think. Give it a score out of 10 in the comments. And now we're going to take a look at some team news that's been going on in the FPL community today. So for anyone considering Arsenal assets tonight, it's very important to look at this ahead of the game. There's the predicted lineup on the right side now. Tomiyasu is a slight doubt, so I reckon Ben White's going to play right back anyway just because of how good Saliba has actually been. And as you can see there, the front three, Saka, Jesus and Martinelli. I even think when Smith Rowe comes back, even though he's a slight doubt, that's going to be the front three. So I'm quite happy with that. And there's Zinchenko at left back. So it's really important to consider on Fantasy Football Scout. If you get the membership, it's 15% off at the minute. The link's on my TikTok bio, FPL Talk, if you want to go check it out. It's a really great website. You can see these predicted lineups and the doubt for players, and it's really effective because I can base my team off these clearly. The thing is, right, Tierney, when he comes back, is Zinchenko going to play? But I can see Zinchenko playing that Xhaka position. Let's not deny it. Fabio Vieira is an interesting one because they paid a big fee for him, but I don't know too much about him, so he'll be a good one to see. But that's Arsenal's predicted lineup. So if you do have assets, make sure you're looking at this and thinking, should I put them in or not? But let's get into the next team news. So before we take a look at something really interesting, we're having a look at Crystal Palace's predicted lineup for tonight. They've got Guaita in goal, 4.5 million. I wouldn't consider many of these assets unless they get a nice run of fixtures. You could get some save bonuses for you, and you could bring them in for the likes of Raya or Sanchez when they get some tough fixtures, and Guaita maybe get some easy ones. The defence, Guaita's probably the most notable one. Pops up with a few corner headers, but again, they don't keep many clean sheets, so I wouldn't go for them. The midfield isn't really reliable either. Some rotation going on throughout there, and Zaha's obviously the most nailed on one in the attack. Always gets returns previous years, and he's only like 7 million around that mark anyway. And if they did get a nice run, I would definitely consider him because he's always a goal threat. Edward at rotational risk with Mateta, I would stay away from him. And Ayew actually is predicted to start because Elise has a foot injury. And some people are considering Elise to be a good differential in FPL. But obviously it wasn't to be with that injury. Now the interesting thing we are going to take a look at is this season projection where it predicts how many points FPL players are actually going to get. It's very fascinating. Salah is apparently going to get the most FPL points, scoring 20 goals and getting 11 assists with 245 points, which is very high. But something that's interesting is Haaland is coming in at second there. Even with Pep Roulette with less minutes, he's averaging about 20 goals in this season and he's getting 8 assists and he's getting 206 FPL points apparently overall, which would be higher than Son, which would be very surprising. I think Son's going to be just above Haaland, to be honest, but if he does that, that'll be absolutely mental. And De Bruyne are also up there. 2 Man City premiums high up on this predictor, which is fascinating. With Harry Kane getting beat by Trent Alexander-Arnold in fantasy points. Harry Kane getting beat by 1 point apparently at the end of the season. And Bruno Fernandes still up there, which is pretty interesting as well, simply because we don't know how good Man United are going to be and what Ten Hag's lineup is going to be going into the first day of the season. And they still think Fernandes is going to do quite well. And if you just play in the attacking midfielder position and United do thrive, they have looked okay in pre-season. United obviously had that big win over Liverpool. Then he could be a good asset and a bit of a differential to watch out for. But that is the player projections. If you have enjoyed, please subscribe and leave a like on the video. It only takes you 1 second. I hope you enjoyed looking at my FPL draft, and honestly, I wish you the best of luck for this FPL season. I think we all need it, to be honest. It's always a rough one, but I'll see you in the next video.